Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into the chilling folklore and, honestly, the terrifying anatomy of a dark local legend known simply as the Echoes of Blackwood Well. We're going to unpack the exact mechanics of a myth that literally swallowed the town whole. Let's kick things off with a pretty gripping hook. I want you to picture this. You're walking alone in the dark, right? And suddenly, you hear this desperate plea, "Help me," echoing up from the black, stagnant depths of an abandoned well. What do? Do you run, or do you actually look down? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we explore what happens when human curiosity collides with something ancient and hungry. Section 1, the lore of Blackwood. So this whole story begins in a small, super peaceful village. Picture dense forests, rolling old hills, the kind of tight-knit place where literally everyone knows your name. But hiding right in the center of this otherwise idyllic little community was a dark secret that nobody, and I mean nobody, dared to go near after the sun went down. The locals actually gave this ancient stone structure a pretty ominous nickname, the Well of Death. See, years prior, an old man named Thomas suffered a tragic fall into the well and drowned. And ever since that fateful accident, the well birthed this constant stream of terrifying rumors. People claimed they'd hear cries for help bubbling up from the water at night. Others absolutely swore they saw a pale figure standing beside it in the moonlight. Now, for most folks, these were just scary stories, the kind you tell to keep your kids away from a dangerous ledge. And this brings us to the core conflict of our explainer. On one hand, you've got the deep-rooted superstitions of these terrified villagers who wholeheartedly believe in the curse. But on the other hand, we have our protagonist, Daniel. Daniel's a 25-year-old farmer, lives with his mom, and he is fiercely logical. His absolute favorite response to all this well lore was a simple, "Ghosts don't exist." Whenever the villagers brought up the hauntings, Daniel would literally just laugh it off. But, as you might guess, that overconfidence leads to the skeptic's mistake. It goes down on a really rainy evening as Daniel's heading home from the market. The main road through the forest is completely flooded, so he makes a call to take a shortcut directly through the village center. A shortcut that takes him right past the forbidden well. As he strolls by, he hears this faint voice pleading, "Help me." He stops. He looks around. But nobody's there. If we track the timeline here, we see this relentless, crazy escalation of paranormal events over just a few short days. That very first evening, Daniel actually leans over the endless darkness of the well, shouts, "Who's there?" and hears splashing water deep down below. Being a good guy, he rushes home to grab a rope thinking someone's trapped, but when he gets back with a lantern, nothing. But here's the thing, the horror actually follows him home. Right at midnight, 3 knocks hit his window. He checks, no one's there, but he finds these wet, muddy footprints leading away into the dark. The very next morning, he casually mentions this to the villagers, and an old woman turns completely pale. She warns him that he's heard the voice that actively calls its victims. Now, despite these warnings, Daniel still refuses to believe it. It's just gotta be a prank, right? So the following night, under a pitch-black sky with zero moonlight, he goes back to the well. He leans over the edge again, but this time, he doesn't just hear a voice. He sees a human face floating in the water. Its eyes are completely white, just empty. Daniel stumbles backward in absolute shock, and the face vanishes. Instantly, this freezing wind sweeps across the entire village, followed by a deep, wet, terrifying laugh echoing out of the darkness. And for the first time in his entire life, Daniel feels genuine, primal fear. This is the exact moment the physical reality of the curse starts breaking Daniel's mind. Over the next few days, he's plagued by these horrifying whispers, just repeating, "Join us, join us." They invade his dreams every single night. In these nightmares, cold hands are literally pulling him down into the dark water. The psychological toll here is just immense. He's waking up screaming, terrifying his poor mother. His face grows starkly pale, and these heavy, dark circles carve themselves under his eyes. Which brings us to a pivotal moment, the priest's revelation. A visiting village priest finally sits down with Daniel, who is visibly deteriorating at this point. The priest listens to everything Daniel has experienced and decides, okay, it's finally time to reveal the terrifying hidden history of this well, because as it turns out, this isn't just about the old man named Thomas anymore. The priest breaks down the dark, terrifying anatomy of this curse. He explains that decades ago, it wasn't just a single accident. Several villagers had mysteriously drowned in that very same well. And critically, their bodies were never recovered. The locals fully believe these restless spirits are just trapped down there in the black water. But the most horrifying detail? The well isn't just passively haunted. It's a predatory trap. It actively chooses who to consume next. Hearing this, Daniel tries to brush it off with a nervous laugh, asking the priest, "Come on, you really believe that?" But the priest doesn't laugh back. He just looks Daniel dead in the eyes and delivers this chilling realization. It has already chosen you. Just like that, Daniel's fate is completely sealed. He's marked by the well, and there is absolutely no outrunning it. And that brings us to the climax of the narrative, the night of the final storm. It's this incredibly cinematic collision of violent natural elements and unstoppable supernatural forces. A massive storm strikes Blackwood. We're talking torrential rain, thunder literally shaking the sky, and right around midnight, the voice returns. But this time, it is not echoing from the well. It's coming from inside Daniel's own house. Let's break down this horrifying final descent step by step. Step 1. The voice lures Daniel outside. He's walking in this hypnotic trance, eyes totally empty, like he's sleepwalking straight into the pouring rain. Some villagers actually reported seeing him through their windows, but they were way too terrified to step outside and intervene. Step 2. He reaches the well, and the true scale of the curse is fully revealed. He doesn't just see one spirit. He encounters dozens of pale, dripping figures with white eyes, all standing silently around the stone. One of them just points down into the black water, where countless Morpheses are floating and watching him. And then, step 3, the terrifying conclusion. A hand shoots up from the darkness and grabs his wrist. Then more hands appear, cold, rotting, dead hands. Daniel screams, he fights, he desperately tries to run, but the spirits are just too strong. Within seconds, he's dragged screaming down into the blackness. Daniel's agonizing scream echoes through the violent storm. And then, there is just silence. But the echoes remain. Let's take a look at the somber aftermath of this tragic legend and how it fundamentally altered the village of Blackwood forever. So, the physical evidence left behind the very next morning is basically non-existent. Just some muddy footprints around the stone. A rescue team searches for days. They're lowering ropes and lights deep into the black water, but they find absolutely nothing. No body, no trace. It's like the well just swallowed him completely. But the psychological toll, that was devastating. Because weeks later, people walking near the well started hearing a new, desperate, frightened voice crying, "Help me!" And they recognized it immediately. It was Daniel. His spirit had been absorbed into the well's horrific chorus. Unable to live with this constant terror, families slowly packed up and moved away over the years. The terrified village emptied out, turning Blackwood into a total ghost town. But the well remains, always waiting, watching, and calling. This tragic piece of lore leaves us with an enduring and frankly dreadful warning about the inescapable nature of the curse. Even today, locals from neighboring towns insist that on stormy nights, you can still hear the dozens of trapped voices, including Daniel's, begging to escape from the darkness below. But nobody who climbs down ever returns. Because as the saying goes, once the well of death chooses you, it never ever lets you go. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought that really challenges our own everyday skepticism. We just saw how pure logic completely failed Daniel when he was faced with ancient, unexplainable forces. So think about your own life for a second. If you were walking all alone on a dark, rainy night, and the absolute silence was broken by a faint voice asking you for help from the shadows, what would you do? Would you go investigate, or would you keep walking? Thanks so much for joining me as we explored the chilling history of Blackwood. And remember, sometimes it really is just safer to ignore the echoes.